Sophia, good night. Georgetown, good night. We voted for David Granger, right? Alright. So I like to start with a declaration of our commitment so that Georgetown can hear us and those tuning in by way of social media can feel our energy and get the assurance that we know the direction in which we're going. So when I ask who we're voting for, I need you to let everybody know David Granger. Who are we voting for? Who are we voting for? Yeah! Who are we voting for? Thank you. Thank you, comrades. We are voting for David Arthur Granger. Sophia, I am convinced that the best leader for Guyana is David Arthur Granger. Visionary, compassionate, honest. We do not want to go back to anything else. Forever! Yeah! I want to talk to you tonight about a different kind of governance. Many families have been touched by the various initiatives in the education sector, and we've had my comrade before me talk about the phenomenal 5Bs initiative. We know that there are dozens of buses all across this country. There are hundreds of bicycles, thousands of books, thousands of meals, and we know that this is coming from a compassionate place in our government. Our government has the good of the people at heart. Importantly, it is a government that believes in unity. President David Granger says each of us, regardless of how we look, should come under the big banab and move forward together. We know that billions have been spent on healthcare, on infrastructure. We look around and we see the development taking place before our eyes. And so we sit right now comfortably in the hands of good governance. And we cannot slumber. On March 2nd, we forge ahead. Every single vote counts. Do not stay home. Remember that. Do not slumber. But you have more power than just your one vote. Every one of us has a circle of influence, of family, of friends, of colleagues who will listen to us. And we will not stop saying to them, on March 2nd, we're voting for the palm and the key. Well, this is the real brand. So, even before we get to March 2nd, we are 20 days away from victory, comrades. So we must keep the energy and keep the vigilance and sing in the ears of our friends and those around us. Because our posse is larger than just us. Our posse can be 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people strong, and we're telling everybody we voted for David Arthur Granger. Yeah! I want to spend some time reflecting with you, comrades, on why it is that as we head into the decade of development, and as we head into a time in this country where wonderful things are ahead, we cannot squander the opportunity to choose a government that has our interest at heart. And you decide if you're going to go with 19 fraud charges and no degrees, or the compassionate, visionary leadership of President David Arthur Granger. Yeah! Reflect with me. In 2011, there was a peaceful protest for GCOM to verify statements of poll. And you will remember that Comrade James Bond was a part of that protest. And you will remember rubber pellets were shot into the crowd. There were women in that crowd, comrades. There were children in that crowd. And so When we reflect on their response and we compare it against the response of our president, when they stormed the function he was at the Pegasus, was there any shooting? There was not. So we would like to stay in the arms of visionary, compassionate leadership. Let us reflect some more. In 2012, Sophia, you will remember that Lindeners were protesting the hike in electricity prices. And you will remember that we have brothers who were shot in Linden and killed. Is that what we're going to go back to, comrades? Are we going to go back to the dark days, comrades? Forward ever? Let us reflect some more, comrades.
Impossible to do. We don't want PPP no more. Remember what PPP do. Jack, they keep lying true and true. Urban hiding it. Stop trying.
Let us continue to reflect on why we are forging ahead with President David Arthur Granger. Remember, they built Pradoville 1. And then they weren't satisfied. They went ahead and they built Pradoville 2. And at the same time, our pensioners, those that we are supposed to care for after they've worked so hard to build this country to where it is today, received $7,500 monthly. Is that compassionate governance, comrades? In 4 years, pension has been increased by 170%, comrades. Visionary, compassionate leadership, comrades. Are we going to go back to the dark days, comrades? No way. Our public servants received $30-something thousand a month. Public servants have had a salary increase of 70%. And no government officials have proceeded to build anything the likes of a Pradoville. Because government is too focused on our citizens. What is best for you? Compassionate leadership, comrades. You remember the Barbies Bridge fiasco. They took your insurance money and my insurance money and invested it in the bridge, but they own the dominant shares in the bridge. That is dishonesty, comrades. That is not compassionate leadership, comrades. That is self-interest, comrades. Are we going to go back to the dark days, comrades? Let us reflect. They did. They wanted us to pay $8,000+ to cross the bridge daily. How could we afford that? Is that compassionate? Are we going back? Forward ever! Thank you, comrades. They will come to you and you would have heard them say, vote race, not afraid for it being a Punjat. But what does our visionary, compassionate leader tell us? He says, one people, one nation, one destiny. We will love each other regardless of the color of our skin or the texture of our hair. And we will take our neighbors and our friends, irrespective of how differently from us they look. And we will vote in love for compassion and for vision. And we not going back, comrades. Never again, PPP. You will remember there was a time when the PPP wanted to give a piece of our country to Venezuela. But President David Arthur Granger is not afraid of anything. And he is not giving up a country that belongs to us. I can't sing, comrades, but you can help me. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karas, not a blade of grass.
Yeah!
Comrades, 1.3 billion of your taxpayers' money was spent on a fiber optic cable that never worked. But what happened when President David Granger came into power? We have 173 ICT hubs all across the country, and internet connectivity from Region 1 to Region 10. I have comrades in Region 9 in remote areas, or quote-unquote remote areas, who are listening to us right now. And so, are we going to go back to that sort of disaster for governance? Forward ever!
Forward never! Backwards never!
There was a time when they gave broadcast license to their friends and their family. But under David Arthur Granger, there is a level playing field for you to apply for a broadcast license. There's no favoritism and selecting. There were people on the other side, like Robert Passad, who had 5 broadcast license. But under this administration, there is no favoritism. You have to qualify, and then you get one. You don't get to hoard the thing for yourself and deprive everybody else. There is a young woman by the name of Charlene Naguir, and she was protesting maternity deaths at the Georgetown Hospital, and she went to the then Minister of Health, Barry Ramsaran, with her protest. And the response she received from the man, I would strip and slap you. Are we going back to the dark days, comrades? What has President Granger done? He has appointed 40% of his cabinet as female. This means we have representation for women's issues at the top of government. And this is the kind of respect and care for women that President David Granger embraces. You remember when a certain person put their wife on the street? Are we going to go back to the dark days, comrades? I want you to reflect on these things. And I want you to be confident that on March 2nd, we are forging ahead under the compassionate, visionary leadership of President David Arthur Granger. Remember, you have one vote, but you got plenty friends. You got enough family. You got colleagues. Everybody will get the message from you. You will be vigilant, and we will win this thing overwhelmingly for every Guyanese, because Guyana belongs to all of us. Thank you, comrades.